Welcome back to Beginning Band COVID Companion, Distance Learning for Band. This is video 3 of a 4-part series. We already learned how to assemble and disassemble our instrument. Then we learned how to maintain the mechanics of our instrument and disinfect it. Now, we will learn how to make beautiful sounds on our mouthpiece. Lastly, we will perform our first notes. Your sits bones, spine, and neck are all stacked so as to not inhibit breathing. Your arms should be gently lifted away from your body. Your shoulders should be down and relaxed. Bring your instrument to be parallel to the ground and then lower your bell by about 10 degrees. A standing posture requires a slightly different bell angle than your sitting posture. Bring your instrument to be parallel to the ground, and then instead of lowering it 10 degrees, you will raise the bell 10 degrees. The standing posture is almost exclusively reserved for marching band, so you probably won't have to worry about this year. Your elbows should hang freely and loosely away from your body, not tense, but not collapsed. You should bring your trumpet to you instead of bringing yourself to the trumpet, as pictured on the right. Any posture that does not allow you to breathe freely and deeply is a detriment to your playing and should be avoided. As for your hands, a relaxed C formation is what will be required. In order to find this, allow your hands to relax at your sides when you're not holding an instrument. Shake out the tension from your shoulders and just let them hang. When you look at them, you will notice that your hands have naturally formed a relaxed C position. You will take this relaxed C position in your left hand and you will wrap it around all 3 valve casings so that your thumb gives the first valve a hug, and your index and middle fingers will give the third valve a hug. Depending on the size of your hand, you will put the most comfortable finger through the third valve ring, although it is usually your ring finger. You can adjust this to your comfort with the screw on the third valve ring. Your left hand should bear 100% of the weight of the instrument. This means that your right hand is not going to be carrying any of the weight. You will insert your right thumb between the first and second valve casing. This will not hold any weight, but it'll be there for stability. Put your first 3 fingers of your right hand on top of the valve pearls while maintaining a relaxed overall C shape to your hand. No flat fingers, please. Your left pinky should not wrap underneath your instrument. It should just lay next to your ring finger. Your right pinky should not go into the hook. It should go on top of the hook, like the hook is a shelf and not a hook. When you play, you will close your lips so that your top lip and bottom lip form a straight line. If you lick your lips before you play, it will allow for an easier first sound. You will firm the corners of your lips by saying the letter M. Some people prefer to say the word dim. This M shape will place your mouthpiece on your lips so that the mouthpiece is even between your lips. With respect to the mouthpiece, 50% should touch your top lip and 50% should touch the bottom lip. Some people will have their private lessons teacher include just a little bit more upper lip based on how their face has developed. Definitely do not have more bottom lip than top lip. Your teeth should be very slightly separated. Don't bite down when you play. Your cheeks need to stay firmly against your molars. Think about creating dimples to hold your cheeks in. No puffy cheeks, please. Create a long buzz sound while keeping the corners of your lips supported, and use the same muscles necessary for the letter B to control your buzz sound. Go ahead and try to make that buzz sound right now. Have your lips say M, and then you're going to let the air freely move between your lips while using the letter B to control that buzz sound. Here's what it's going to sound like. It may sound silly now, but when you do it into a mouthpiece later, it's going to refine that sound to be more beautiful. Take a full breath for every note that you play, even when it's supposed to be quiet. Variables behind your embouchure will also include space between your back teeth should be about a thumb's width. If you keep those molars separated, you will sound more beautiful. Rest your tongue against the floor of your mouth until you need to use it. Everything behind your tongue should be open and relaxed like a sigh. Go ahead and sigh right now to feel that open and relaxed feeling. In order to make higher pitches, a smaller aperture will be necessary. Aperture is the distance between your lips when you play. High notes want your lips to be separate by about the distance of a coffee stir or a toothpick, so that aperture will be very small. It will cause your lips to vibrate at a faster frequency, and it will raise the note. Think faster, colder air with a more focused airstream. Do not think pinch or pressure. What about low notes, you ask? Low pitches require a larger aperture. Think about making the distance between your lips about the size of a milkshake straw. This will cause your lips to vibrate at a lower frequency and lower the pitch. Think warmer, steamier, darker, open air. Now that you've seen the correct and incorrect postures, hand techniques, and embouchure, it's time for us to make beautiful sounds on our mouthpieces. It's time to learn how to make your first sounds on the mouthpiece. You'll notice the absence of the body of the trumpet, and that's because before we start worrying about hand position and fingerings, we need to be able to make different kinds of sounds on our mouthpiece. That's what's cool and challenging about being a brass player. We can put down one particular fingering and have any one of 13 different notes come out, meaning that our face, in particular our lips, are responsible for choosing which one of those notes to play. So that's why we do mouthpiece exercises to strengthen and improve that note selection process. Basically, your lips need to be able to decide whether they want to play a low note, a middle note, a high note, or something in between. Let's practice some of those now. First, you need to make the shape of an M with your lips. Go ahead and say the letter M right now. M. The next step is to put your mouthpiece on top of that M. 50% of the mouthpiece should be on your upper lip. 50% of your mouthpiece should be on your lower lip. M. It's easier when you play your first notes if you moisten your lips a little bit by licking your lips. Another thing to keep in mind is to make sure that you're not clenching your teeth too hard when you go to play the note. Now, you don't necessarily need to be thinking about opening your jaw, and you certainly don't want to open it very far, but as long as your teeth aren't clenched, it's going to be just fine. I think about separating my back molars by just a little bit. M. You're going to take a huge breath, and you are going to let the air come through the mouthpiece while you let the corners of your lips hold your lips firm to resist that air. What's going to happen is as the air passes through your lips, you're going to be creating a buzz sound that sounds like this. You're going to be doing that buzz sound into the mouthpiece, like this. You'll also notice that I'm holding my mouthpiece with 2 fingers on top and a thumb at the bottom to support it. You can hold the shank of the mouthpiece like this for the best technique. You definitely don't just want to grab it with your whole fist and cram it into your face, because that's going to be too much pressure on your lips and it's not going to sound as good. If you're having a hard time controlling that buzz sound, think about the letter B after you think about the letter M. So think of the letter M to create your starting point, M. And then after the air starts passing through your lips, you can think about the letter B to hold your lips into the correct position for the buzz to be maintained and controlled by your face muscles. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the use of the tongue when you're playing your brass instrument. As your buzz is going through the mouthpiece, try to interrupt that buzz for a very short amount of time by touching the tip of your tongue to the back of your teeth. So as the buzz is happening, you have hoo, and you're going to interrupt it with the T. So it'll go hoo, two, two, two. Listen for that as I play. Now, as your band director talks about starting each of your notes on the trumpet, they're going to say that you should start by tonguing the note at the beginning. They might also use the word attack the note with your tongue. So practice starting your note with the tongue as well. The next important thing to do is to practice changing pitches on our mouthpiece. How do we do that as a trumpet player? Well, a lot of it has to do with your aperture. The aperture is the hole that is caused in your face when you blow air through it. I'll show you. That hole between my lips is called the aperture. And you can change the size of that hole in your face, called the aperture, by flexing or relaxing your facial muscles to allow more or less air out at a given time. A smaller aperture will equate to higher notes. Another thing that you can be thinking about as you're aiming for high or low is that lower notes use warmer, darker, slower air. That doesn't mean you take a smaller breath. You always take a full breath, but as the aperture increases, it's going to create the lower note. In order to get the higher pitches, we're going to need to reduce the size of the aperture and use faster, colder air. If your notes don't sound exactly like mine right now, that's okay. As your facial muscles develop when you practice more, you're going to have an easier time getting these differences in your pitches. Since brass playing has so much to do with the mouthpiece and what your face is doing, it's very important to do mouthpiece exercises every single day. One of my favorite exercises to do is called the siren. Start on a low note, gradually decrease the size of your aperture so that the pitch goes up, and then gradually increase the size of your aperture so that that pitch comes back down. My hand will try to show you the difference as you listen for the difference. You can try it with me this time. As you practice more and as your lips become stronger, you're going to be able to make a bigger difference between your pitches. Another important mouthpiece exercise I call throwing darts. You'll set up your mouthpiece to play a low note, aim for a low note, and play a low note. Now aim for a middle note, so a medium-sized aperture. Then aim for a higher note with a small aperture. Pick one and try it. Being able to change notes with your face is extremely important on the trumpet, so you should practice these mouthpiece exercises every single day. Playing scales is something that you're going to do a lot on your trumpet. You can practice the sound of a scale now. We can change our aperture a little bit at a time, and we will have our notes ascend like a staircase and descend like going down a staircase, like this. If it doesn't sound exactly perfect, and if it doesn't sound exactly like mine, that's okay. What we're practicing right now is simply making a difference in our aperture size. The most advanced part of doing a mouthpiece exercise would be thinking of a song and trying to play that song with no buttons at all, just on your mouthpiece. Again, if it doesn't sound perfect, that's okay. You're only trying to practice making a difference in your aperture size to make a difference in the pitch.